These guys are fucking awesome. I don't know if they ever do collabs or anything, but I would actually love to talk to these people because their Lord Farquaad video opened my fucking eyes, and now I've been Shrek pilled. Original video was why Lord Farquaad did nothing wrong. And now this next video is we are all Prince Charming.
Charming is the perfect representative of the average white man in modern Western society. In Shrek 3, Prince Charming is hated, mocked, humiliated, and even replaced by an outsider in his own country, while his former countrymen completely turn on him and accept the unacceptable without question.
Okay, question. Is Mike Myers like a liberal cuck? Or like, why is all of the narrative of Shrek the immigrants and illegals are good, white people are bad? What is going on here, man? Oh, cleaning up the streets and getting rid of crime is actually a bad thing. What is going on? Is Mike Myers lib-pilled or what is this?
Prince Charming really is living in a world that's gone completely crazy and abandoned all logic and reason by letting these ogres come in and rule, yet he's being treated like the crazy one for noticing that the world's been turned upside down.
It's not exactly subtle either.
And it's his unwillingness to accept the new normal and him fighting back in order to restore his homeland that ultimately causes him to meet an untimely death at the end of this movie.
Oh no. Oh no. And they all cheered.
Finally awake.
And I can't help but feel there's an obvious message being sent that if you will not step aside and let the outsiders destroy your society, you must be ousted and replaced by someone else who will accept.
Despite being only 13 of the population, ogres commit over 50% of the crime.
The perfect new world order.
Yep.
And this is what Prince Charming fundamentally is rebelling against. For the sin of attempting to restore his homeland to its rightful state, he must be impoverished, humiliated, and ultimately killed.
It's the most effective way for social change is humiliate your enemy and make them poor.
At the beginning of the movie, King Harold is dying, and Fiona and Shrek fill in for him to rule temporarily. And consider Fiona made a conscious decision to become an ogre, so it's ludicrous that the people are even okay with her ruling in the first place. It's even worse when you consider that despite King Harold getting on board with Shrek and Fiona's marriage, his death is still played as a joke. On his deathbed, he tells Shrek and Fiona,
"But your love for Shrek has taught me so much."
This scene shows us that Fiona's love for Shrek taught Harold that it's okay for your daughter to embrace her curse, have her values undermined, live in a rotting swamp, and produce little ogre babies that don't resemble him at all. They're even so on the nose with how little they respect Harold that in a later scene, Fiona uses a secret passageway that depicts Harold kissing a horse's butt. There is no amount of submission that will ever make you a member of the club. This is the future that
I will say, bro, I picked up on this. They treated the dad so dirty just because he was careful and wanted best for his daughter. This video is already spitting so hard. See, even me, like I started off as a hater of what they were saying about Lord Farquaad. I realized they were right. You can watch me slowly being convinced over the video. But watching Shrek the Third, that's why I stopped watching the series, is because I always felt for how bad they did to dad when all he wanted was the best for his daughter.
the goblins that run Hollywood want.
Actually
Your
fucked.
final comfort before you die is knowing that your daughter is now a swamp shark. You'll have little green freak babies
I mean, he did lock up his daughter in a castle. Yeah, because she was being retarded.
as your grandkids. And let's not forget, Shrek doesn't want to rule, but instead of stepping aside and letting Prince Charming, who has a rightful claim to the throne, that being the promise of King Harold, he embarks on an adventure to find a distant heir to Harold to take on the responsibility of ruling so that he doesn't have to.
Now, this relative turns out to be Arthur Pendragon, and our introduction to him is an immediate subversion of expectations by making us think he's a tall, handsome Giga Chad, but we immediately discovered that this kid's actually an outcast.
Stop squirming, Arthur.
I'm not Arthur. That dork over there is Arthur.
Now, through manipulation and deceit, Shrek absolutely gaslights
What the fuck? The Jews!
Artie into coming with him to Far, Far Away to become the new king. And multiple times, Shrek outright lies to Artie about the king handpicking him to be heir.
Oh no, in fact, the king asked for you personally.
And his motivation for this is nothing more than shirking responsibility of being king so that he can go fart around in his swamp. But the problem is, he's willing to manipulate a young, impressionable kid into ruling when the throne has already been promised to Prince Charming.
To that point, on the ship ride back to Far, Far Away, Shrek is constantly gaslighting Artie into thinking that being king is going to be all fun and games.
Look, I know it's not all going to be fun and games.
It really is all fun and games, actually.
But Donk and Pussy pussy. But Donkey and Puss inadvertently warn him of the danger and responsibility of being king.
The whole kingdom will look to you for wisdom and guidance.
Just make sure they don't die of famine.
Or plague.
Now, once Artie fully realizes the responsibility that's going to come with this, he tries to turn the ship around, and Shrek fights him for control of the ship, and they end up crashing it and capsizing the ship.
Oh.
Now, eventually, Shrek is able to convince Artie to take on the responsibility that he clearly doesn't want, and the way he does this is by telling Artie,
People used to think I was a monster, but after a while, you learn to ignore the names that people call you, and you just trust who you are.
the problem with this line is that Shrek is actually a giant green monster. We saw it in the first film, and it's all throughout the book.
Yeah, he literally killed Lord Farquaad. He used to kill humans, collect their eyeballs, and then spread their jam on or spread the eye jam on their toast. Shrek quite literally is a giant murderous monster.
That this series is based on, he did in fact enjoy scaring humans. This isn't some
Yes, he
unfair
did.
label. It is an accurate description of who Shrek is. He also preys on Artie's lack of a father figure, because he tells him that although Artie's father wasn't present, at least he didn't try to eat him like Shrek's did.
My father was an ogre. He tried to eat me.
Either this is true and all ogres are vile creatures that should be despised, or Shrek
True.
is lying and this is yet another attempt to gaslight Artie even further.
Let's remember
True.
back to the most famous line in this entire franchise. Ogres have layers. I'm convinced that Shrek would tell Artie his dad was turned into a bar of soap if he thought it would convince him to become king. Why didn't Prince Charming, who also grew up without a father, get this same sympathy from the writers? But that aside, Shrek would rather put an innocent kid's life in danger than let Prince Charming rule far, far away. Keep in mind, during their struggle on the boat, Shrek slipped up and admitted to Artie that he thinks Artie is a loser.
Sorry to disappoint you, but I'm going back. Back to what? Being a loser?
He clearly doesn't think this kid has what it takes to rule, but is still fine screwing him and far, far away over if it means he gets to go back home to the swamp.
Despite Shrek's
Shrek really is a selfish, self-serving bastard. He really is. You know, they do a really good job of making those qualities endearing, but in reality, Shrek is just a massive piece of shit.
manipulation and deceit, he'll be portrayed as the hero of the movie by the end. So with that in mind, let's look at what Prince Charming was doing while Shrek was away. There's an early scene where Prince Charming is actually able to galvanize a bunch of the fairy tale creatures at the Poison Apple to help him overthrow Far, Far Away. Now remember that a lot of these creatures hate him because of his mother's actions in Shrek 2. But Prince Charming appeals to them by saying,
Once upon a time, someone decided that we were the losers. There are two sides to every story, and our side has not been told. Who wants their happily ever after?
It's also funny that after his rousing speech, these fairy tale creatures immediately start beating the crap out of each other. And I'm telling you, man, Farquaad's stance on fairy tale creatures becomes more and more justified with
It is necessary that I should die for my people, but my spirit will rise from the grave and the whole world will know that I was right. Wait. Isn't that Hitler? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Is that not a Hitler quote? Am I crazy here? Bro, that's insane. I think he's right, though, man. These fairy tale creatures, they're violent.
each passing movie.
They are.
Farquaad was right, and we all know it. After he convinces them to join forces, Charming uses the fairy tale creatures to siege the city and take control of Far, Far Away. Now, I won't try to defend this on moral grounds, but you have to remember that he had everything taken away from him just because of the actions of his mother.
FYI, not my fault.
And this is a trend that we've seen in Hollywood for a long time. They paint everything white people do as evil, all while overlooking the same actions when they're taken by other races.
True.
Remind me, where are all the Oscar-winning films about black slave owners or
True.
that one group of people we don't talk about?
People don't realize who brought the slaves to America.
True.
They were Jewish ships.
Prince Charming rightly resents the unwashed masses because they would rather be governed by an ogre than one of their own countrymen.
Because democracy basically means government by the people, for the people.
But the people are retarded.
But the people are retarded.
And honestly, can we blame Prince Charming for not accepting his destiny being stolen from him, to live in poverty, having to play himself in a crappy play that forces him to relive the worst moments of his life while a crowd mocks him and laughs at him the whole time? Charming wants to put on a play and have Shrek be the star of it to humiliate him the same way that he's been humiliated since the end of Shrek 2 and eventually kill him. He captures Shrek and Artie, but ends up letting Artie go after Shrek admits that he lied to Artie just to get him to come to Far, Far Away.
You weren't really next in line for the throne.
Look, I said whatever I had to say, all right? I wasn't right for the job. I just needed some fool to replace me, and you fit the bill.
Even whenever Shrek
I'm not gonna lie, bro. That's fucked up. That really is. Dude, what a selfish fucking bastard.
Shrek tells the truth, he does so with the intent to manipulate. Now, what's funny is the movie plays this scene as Shrek pretending to lie so that Artie can escape because he cares so deeply about him, but he absolutely doesn't. Now, keep in mind, Prince Charming would have won had he not spared Artie. This whole film relies upon Prince Charming's kindness and mercy.
The same thing is true with Farquaad in the first movie. He upheld his end of the deal with Shrek to give him the deed to his land, and how did Shrek repay him? Busting through the church to steal his princess, and eventually destroying his kingdom.
Now, I think this demonstrates a very valuable message to all of us, which is that half measures and mercy will only end up hurting you when you're dealing with your enemies because they will absolutely weaponize your morality and compassion against you.
And to be fair, mercy and compassion, these are virtuous things, but when your enemy hates you and wants you erased, those are out the window. And it is true that Prince Charming wanting to force Shrek into this play instead of just killing him is obviously pretty petty, but I do have a hard time arguing that any reasonable person in charming circumstances wouldn't want revenge given that Shrek stole everything from him and left his life in complete shambles.
Facts!
After losing everything, in his desperation, he turned to violence in order to restore order to his now fallen kingdom.
And he even says his...
Dude, growing up is realizing that Shrek was the antagonist in every single one of his videos. It is. Shrek was the bad guy the whole time.
Much in the movie. Because he says,
I am the rightful king of far, far away. And I promise you this, mother. I will restore dignity to my throne.
Prince Charming is the rightful king of Far, Far Away by agreement with the previous king.
You see, we made a deal, Harold. And I assume you don't want me to go back on my part.
Indeed not.
So Fiona and Charming will be together.
Yes.
And Shrek has absolutely made a mockery of Far, Far Away's traditions and customs, as seen at the beginning of the movie. And Prince Charming is having none of it. And for that, he's the bad guy. He's the villain because he refuses to be replaced.
And keep in mind, Prince Charming isn't motivated solely by vengeance or malice. His primary motivation is fulfilling what he believes to be his destiny and honoring the wishes of his deceased mother. Everything in his life was going according to plan until an outsider intervened.
But now it's time for the big finale. Even when Prince Charming has the upper hand and has Shrek right where he wants him, they have to continue to emasculate him.
You've got to love it when the writers are unintentionally based. They clearly wrote Prince Charming as this effeminate metrosexual to make a mockery of white Europeans.
Of course.
Yet somehow, with no capital or resources, he single-handedly raised an army and conquered Far, Far Away. And the only reason he lost in the end was the townspeople being mindless drones that would rather be ruled over by an ogre.
Suicidal, empathetic liberals is what killed Prince Charming. Guys, we have seen this story 1,000 times in the news, man. Another migrant killed another white woman. We've seen it 1,000,000 times.
Very progressive of the writers to suggest that the only thing that can stop white people is themselves.
And again, just like with Farquaad, Shrek doesn't want to be judged, but man, he sure loves judging other people. I mean, even Rapunzel has her wig pulled off, revealing that she's bald, since even European women must be humiliated if they side with their own race instead of with the invading ogres.
You know, I can't help but think if Rapunzel had just run over a guard in her wagon to protect the other ogres from Far, Far Away's version of ice, the citizens of Far, Far Away would have gladly accepted her as the queen. But if that emasculation wasn't enough, they even have a scene where all the women break out of the prison to foil Prince Charming's plan. And it's done in the most retarded way possible, where Lillian headbutts through brick walls, and after she does it, she remarks to Fiona,
"Well, you didn't actually think you got your fighting skills from your father, did you?"
The degree to which they disrespect King Harold in this movie is insane, even after.
Wow, women are strong too. This is so empowering. Oh, I love this. This movie was written by lesbians. And we all fucking know it, bro. I'm so tired of this shit.
His death.
And remember, at the beginning of Shrek 2, he wanted no part of Shrek being his son-in-law, which is totally reasonable. But by the end, he completely cucked and gave in, and they still hate him. But even more disgusting in this scene is the fact that Doris, the ugly stepsister, who we talked about in our Shrek 2 video, is canonically a troon. He's treated like he's one of the princesses and gets his redemption arc from being a joke in Shrek 2 to being a hero in this movie. And need I remind you, he forced himself onto Prince Charming at the end of Shrek 2, and it was played as a joke. And the degeneracy continues here with lines like this.
Wait, so a trans man raped a white dude and nobody cared? Man, I'm shocked, bro. Yay, let's go. Girl power. Yay, girl power. Woo!
I know he's
pathetic, dude.
But I gotta admit, that Charming makes me hotter than July.
And Prince Charming, when he has Shrek chained up on stage, says this to him.
Now, you'll finally know what it's like to have everything you worked for. Everything that's precious to you taken away. Now, you'll know how I felt.
Up until the very end, Prince Charming is the only one with a sensible perspective, and he's treated like he's crazy. He is easily the most sympathetic character in this entire movie, but his very reasonable perspective must be strawmanned into oblivion because the disgruntled heir.
I also felt horrible for Prince Charming in Shrek 2 as well. Man, I can't believe I wasn't more aware by this. I'm gonna rewatch the movies today. Man, this shit is too real, bro. Man, this is way too real. I used to love these films, man. Fuck Shrek.
Couldn't possibly
Fuck
have
Shrek.
Just as Prince Charming orders his forces to kill Shrek, Artie comes in and gives a rousing speech to the fairy tale creatures. And it's here that he speaks not only to the fairy tale creatures, but also to us, the audience, to deliver one of the movie's core messages.
A good friend of mine once told me that just because people treat you like a villain, or an ogre, or just some loser, it doesn't mean you are one. The thing that matters most is what you think of yourself. If there's something you really want, or someone you really want to be, then the only person standing in your way is you.
He's telling us that our story isn't scripted or pre-written. It's entirely up to us to write our own story. That sounds great in theory, but the actual message the writers are trying to get across here is that we have no obligation to or from our society, and we should instead just do what makes us happy.
Now, this mindset also denies reality because if you're an ogre, no change in behavior will make you not an ogre. And this is more of the don't judge a book by its cover messaging that we see throughout the films aimed at younger audiences. It's a half-truth, because there are some things that are deeper than just someone's outward appearance, but it's being used maliciously here to try and convince us to ignore reality.
But luckily for Artie, the fairy tale creatures and citizens of Far, Far Away are more than happy to have this random kid be their new king and create the perfect utopia where humans, ogres, and giant tree monsters can live together in harmony. After Artie's amazing speech, the Headless Horseman admits,
I've always wanted to play the flute.
Isn't it kind of ironic that Artie's message is you can be whatever you want to be, and the guy without a head says, hey, I want to play the flute?
Yep.
The thing for which you need a head?
Yep.
That might be important for that vocation, I would think.
What?
But don't mind the burning buildings or the people breaking into your house. Just embrace the peaceful new regime as you slowly get replaced in your own country.
Which is the real message of the Shrek series.
It's also incredibly ironic that Artie, the character who preaches this message, is tricked and gaslit into doing the bidding of an outsider who cares nothing about him. Do not fall for this movie's disingenuous framing. Shrek cares nothing about Artie. He only wants to push his responsibility off on him so that he can go back to his swamp.
His swamp, which
Facts.
Fiona identifies earlier in the movie as being neglected.
Couple more days, and we'll be back home.
Bro, this isn't even a kid. Is that a bird chirp?
Identifies earlier in the movie as being neglected.
Couple more days, and we'll be back home. And our vermin.
The bird chirp added in is fucking diabolical, dude. It is true, man. This isn't even a conspiracy theory video. They're just conspiracy fact. They are trying to brainwash you and replace you. They do it, bro. In all forms of media, they do.
Filled shacks strewn with fungus, filled with erotic.
Shrek standing behind Artie while he mindlessly reiterates his lines. I know, bro. Welcome to Zorod Mamdani's New York.
Stench of mud and neglect.
And again, it's ironic because Shrek letting Prince Charming become king would have freed him from the responsibility that he so desperately wanted to avoid. And you can't use the argument that, well, Charming would be a bad ruler, because he's willing to make Artie, who he knows nothing about, the king, and he's already demonstrated he doesn't think Artie will be a good ruler. And Prince Charming has already shown some chops for ruling by being able to galvanize all the fairy tale creatures to his cause.
True.
Now, just before Prince Charming is killed by Shrek, Prince Charming says,
This was supposed to be my happily ever after.
To which Shrek responds,
Well, I guess you need to keep looking, because I'm not giving up mine.
and this brings us to the core issue with the Shrek series. Shrek's happily ever after always comes at the cost of someone else's. Happily ever after is a zero-sum game between Shrek and literally everyone else. Shrek across 3 movies has repeatedly laid claim to things that are not his, and yet he's always portrayed as the hero for it, while everyone else is a villain if they resist him from getting what he wants.
Because heroes are written by the winners, baby. And that's the truth. Thank God every war was won by the good guys, man. Can you imagine if the bad guys won a war? Oh, that'd be awful.
Despite the movie framing Shrek as the unconventional hero of the story, he is a lazy, selfish, hypocritical, conniving ogre who would be happy
Ask Asmongold what he thinks about Fiona's body type.
to watch the world burn if it means that he could comfortably live in his swamp. This wouldn't be that much of an issue if he kept to himself and didn't meddle in the affairs of others. But our boy Shrek has wandering eyes. He took Farquaad's girl, killed him, destroyed his kingdom, and in this film, he replaced Prince Charming in his own kingdom and gave his crown to someone else. Shrek is a menace.
And with this framing in mind,
that's why you should watch Puss in Boots. Puss in Boots, goated fucking film.
The message of Shrek III is crystal clear. If you are unwilling to accept the invasion of your homeland and the redefinition of your traditions, values, and norms by outsiders, you are the problem. And this is reflected in each character. Prince Charming represents the isolated and disenfranchised young white male whose hopes and dreams are destroyed by an outsider, and he's then vilified for resisting replacement within his own home. Shrek represents the outsider who refuses to assimilate, gains power and influence, corrupts its women, and then retreats to his own home after the damage is done.
True.
Fiona represents the modern woman who shows no interest in preserving her heritage, fully embraces the lie of multiculturalism, and comes to love the very curse that torments her.
True.
King Harold represents the ignorant but well-intentioned boomer who screwed over future generations by being so tolerant that he allowed outsiders en masse through the gates.
True.
And finally, Artie represents the puppet for the outsider, which serves as the real authority and figurehead despite being powerless himself.
Bro, fucking truth Bahamut. Oh my God. Truth one-winged angel. This is insane.
He's naive, inexperienced, out of his depth, and easily deceived into accepting responsibility for which he is clearly unfit. And all of this is solely to carry out the will of the outsiders that are controlling him behind the scenes. And before you use the argument that Artie is also a white European, as Shrek correctly pointed out earlier, he's a loser. He is simply a means to an end for Shrek to escape responsibility and return back to his swamp. And on top of just the main cast, the villagers of Far Far Away are the perfect representatives of modern goy cattle in Western countries. They willingly accept outsiders like Shrek and the other fairy tale creatures, undermining their society, even at great detriment to themselves. Tradition, European folklore, and even Christianity are ridiculed throughout this film. Whether it's knighting ceremonies or christening a ship, Shrek makes a mockery of European traditions. Not to mention, they commit complete cultural vandalism against Arthurian legends by making King Arthur small, weak, and spineless, and making Merlin an old quack. Even Christianity is attacked in the form of two stoners at the school Artie's from, talking about smoking frankincense and myrrh.
Hello, bro. Don't burn all my frankincense and myrrh.
Demoralization is the goal here. They want white people to be ashamed of their ancestry and to actively work against their own interests by shaming them. Hollywood is very intent on always making people of European ancestry the villains of every story, even in a silly kids movie about fairy tales.
Bro, white people are always the villains, and the church is always corrupt. You see that in so many video games. You see that in so many fucking films, bro. It is so annoying every single time.
Is it really any wonder so many people still can't catch on to the obvious subversive messaging in these movies, whenever so many people still idolize Hollywood and the evil people that run it? These people subconsciously pump degenerate garbage into the minds of children, all to the roaring applause of the adults in the audience who are too desensitized to care.
True. Bro. Unbelievable Truth Genova. That was fucking amazing. God, I want to talk to those guys one day. Make sure to go like, comment, subscribe to their stuff. Amazing.